in the last few days particularly, I've had a lot of quiet time just to kind of look out into nature, sit and look out the window. And what I've noticed is that there seems to be less of a resonance within me for what I'm viewing, and more of a sense within me that what it is that I'm feeling in my vibrational state at the moment is really precipitating something that's yet to be viewed. So sometimes it feels like a little bit like we're out of sync with life, or we're kind of out of time with what's happening. And I know that many of us are feeling that at this time, that we're a little bit out of time. And I just wanted to share with you on that note, I had a really interesting session with someone yesterday. As you know, I do a lot of personal sessions every week. And yesterday, this session was talking about this in context of a relationship, whereby when you're very intuitive and empathetic, you tend to identify the potential or the future version of, or the future presentation of someone that you're engaging with or witnessing or observing. And how this was described by the masters is that if you have a particular vibrational frequency and it's a very awakened frequency or very fast frequency, like all of us do, what tends to happen is that we might come into contact with or a relationship with somebody, and from that frequency, we view them. So when we're viewing from that frequency, we experience them or feel them as a version of themselves in that frequency. So how that looks in third dimensional reality is that we tend to experience or connect to almost a future version of themselves. And I'm sure that many of us can relate to this, because when you're very vibrationally refined, if you will, or very vibrationally open, you tend to connect with and resonate with the potential in someone else rather than the version or reality of them in the current third dimensional timeline. So for many of us, we've come into this state of awareness whereby we tend to have a lot of experiences where we really resonate with the potential of someone, but the experience of them and where they are in time is not quite a match for you. And that can tend to be felt in terms of disappointment or disillusionment. It can also feel like you're quite lonely because you can see it and you can feel it. It's just not presenting itself to you. So what we want to say about that in relation to what we're learning right now is that it is like a lot of the relationships you've been experiencing, or even events that you're experiencing in the world on a greater scale at this moment, are like you being in a photographic hall or an exhibition, just like we were illuminated with last week from the masters. And so what's happening is that the relationships that you're in, you tend to be having snapshots of the past. It seems like the past to you, there's an echo, but what you really want to connect with is the reality of what that looks like in your vibrational frequency. In other words, in your timeline, what's the relationship with that person? What does the world look like in your vibrational frequency, in your timeline? So hopefully this is making sense to you. So really what we're experiencing right now is a disparity between where our vibrational frequency is and how reality is presenting itself and how relationships are presenting themselves. And in essence, what we're doing is it seems as if we're looking into the past, because the focus right now is on understanding that your vibrational frequency now doesn't need to be ahead of the game. It doesn't need to be about potential in the future. It can actually be about the present reality. And so this is leading us into an experience now where, particularly over the next 5 months, this is a very, very important time to begin to be creating community and looking for resonant people who are feeling and seeing the potential for reality and the potential in relationships, but where they are. So it's really, in many ways, disengaging you from any kind of timeline or reality that's not in resonance with you, to actually now bring more of humanity in terms of these new communities and new structures in a resonance, and therefore in a timeline where you are. So if you can understand that in terms of a social and global context at this time, we can begin to see that some of the information that the masters have been sharing with us in Interstellum is to really get to recognize that where we are with our vibrational frequency is the timeline that's important, and feeling less connected and feeling less resonant with where the reality that's been presented to us is and the relationships that we've been in are, can feel really disengaging and can feel really isolating. But it's actually to get you to focus on not relating to the world, but actually focusing on where your energy is, because that's where the new timeline is. So on that note, I'm going to dive in. I know we've got some questions. I just really wanted to share that with you before we begin today.